This is the Astrology and Tarot Show with Jessica Adams.
Thanks, Shane. This is your Astrology and Tarot for the week of October 27 to November 2. Here's a true prediction. On my Substack on the 26th of September, you read, Mercury retrograde in the money sign Scorpio needs careful handling from the 21st of October until the 11th of December 2025. Your piggy bank is going to look stunned for a few weeks. Well, on October 20, Amazon Web Services, AWS, suffered a major outage which hit Coinbase, the Lloyds Bank, the Bank of Scotland, the Halifax, and Robinhood. And then on October 21 to 22, gold fell the most in 12 years. There is more to come, and I was chatting a bit about this in last week's podcast. Your tarot this week can be decoded at jessicaadams.com. Aries, the Two of Wands. Taurus, the Two of Pentacles. Gemini, the Three of Cups. Cancer, the Chariot. Leo, the Star. Virgo, the Emperor. Libra, the Devil. Scorpio, the Queen of Wands. Sagittarius, the Eight of Pentacles. Capricorn, the Nine of Wands. Aquarius, the Empress. And Pisces, the Four of Cups. Now, do you have factors at 0 or 1 degrees of Sagittarius in your birth chart? If so, on October 29, you may prefer to steer clear of important decisions involving foreigners and foreign countries. We have a clash then between Mercury and Uranus right across your chart. By the way, if you don't have your chart and you need it, you can pick it up from my website. Aries, a money tree of yours that will be pruned or replanted one more time is showing up. What you pull off by next year with money, property, sales, purchases, accountants, credit cards, debts, and investments will extend the freedom and space for you. Uranus in Taurus describes the revolution, and when Uranus passes through your second house of money, once again from around now until Easter 2026, you will once again be in full radical change mode, either because you have to meet change with change Aries or because you are the one initiating it. Now, this may be about cryptocurrency for you, or it may be about crowdfunding. Uranus is always about what is unexpected, unusual, unprecedented, unique, all the U words. And when you have it passing through Taurus, the sign of the bull market, gold bullion, the bull on Wall Street, basically you're in the thick of it. And what's happening in the US between now and April, but right around world share markets, will have a trickle-down effect on you. And of course, if you work in finance, it is direct. Loads of astrologers will tell you that this is the predictably unpredictable, and so it is. What you can do this week is create enough wiggle room for you to be extremely flexible so that when things zigzag suddenly, which they will, you are also in a position to zigzag. What's been happening with gold is the perfect example of this. But there's something that's different about your chart and you at the moment, and that is the opportunity linked to real estate, leases, mortgages, house or apartment sales, land, and so on. You are in this terrific cycle that they call Jupiter in the fourth house until June 30, 2026. So even though what happens in your country and around the world will be so wildly unpredictable by Easter next year, it looks as though you're going to gain on some level with property if you keep your eyes open and are ready to move when things move around you. Taurus, Uranus is out of Gemini and your money zone from November, but it goes back in from April 2026 and it stays there for years. So you currently have a temporary break from the financial revolution, but it will come back. There is also an ethical message about this cycle to take into account because the second house is about your values, what you will and will not sell out for, and who or what you consider to be so precious that it's priceless. If what you do or say in the name of your values upsets the apple cart from next April, you will have to deal with that. You may already be thinking that way, for example, a salary for a job or personal life financial decisions. You were born with the sun in Taurus in the second house of your natal chart. So this is a double whammy for you. What's happening personally, but also publicly, is really about understanding that there are no guarantees, no certainties, and in a way, nobody really knows anything. This is quite a difficult week to be an astrologer because, by the very nature of it, Uranus going out of Taurus into Gemini, back into Taurus, is unpredictable. All we can really do is look at the past for some information for you and say that this is about cryptocurrency. It is about artificial intelligence and AI shares. It is also about Don economics, Donald Trump's tariffs coming out of nowhere, and a whole other bunch of factors, including internet outages. So as a Taurus, you prefer things to be stable, settled, grounded and earthed. But what your horoscope's telling you to do is to stay pretty nimble and flexible and light on your feet, not just this week, but ongoing. Gemini. Your friendships and your groups now invite experiments. So social media or team efforts will take you as far as you can go. However, because others say something is impossible or unacceptable, is no reason for you to stop. In fact, it may actually spur you on. Chiron is part of this cycle, and it's very much about this Chiron cycle speeding up in January, February 2026, when some of the biggest decisions about the year will be made about your group and your friends. This may be online, so it may be, for example, Substack or X-Twitter or a YouTube community, or it may be in the real world, so it's a band or a football team. It's on that level. This week is all about understanding that you don't always get away with everything, but if you think it's worth the stakes, you may as well have a go. This means sailing past targets which other people say you should not hit or could not hit with your friend or with the group, and yet there is a decent chance of you doing just that. In fact, you've seen that happen so often over the last 2 or 3 years that there may be enough to persuade you to give it another go. In addition to this, perhaps January and February are showing up in your diary or your calendar now, as you have important events ahead in the calendar involving your social life, social media, or a particular group, community, or circle. There are 2 key dates here. From January 2026, what you need to watch out for is the new unreality. There is a holiday from reality taking place around that date with a friend or a group. And that's all very well. But from February 14, you realize that this bubble that you're floating around in comes with walls and gates and fences and all the rest of it. So it's a two-way street for you, Gemini, and it's worth thinking about now as you're planning next year. Cancer. Your goals and your roles are triggered by Chiron this week. If you succeed in your daring, no guarantee mission, you will permanently alter the way that you, they, and other people see what is possible professionally with your unpaid work or your academic career. Chiron is about stretching yourself so that you can stretch the unwritten or written rules and see what it's possible to get away with. You can have a tremendous sense of focus now, and it's this strong sense of conviction that may help you get what you want, even if it does overturn more traditional or conservative people's ideas. Really, there is no interest in convention or the norm on this cycle, and although it hasn't always worked for you over the last 2 or 3 years, this week is telling you to have another go. In fact, you have a major cycle going on here because there are 2 more changes ahead in early 2026. From January 2026, there will be an escape from the real world with your role and your goals that is really an alternative world altogether, bearing no resemblance at all to what most people would say is a regular career or a regular unpaid role or course. Then, just as you're getting used to this way out or way through, from February 14 next year, Cancer, you'll be shown that there are rules and a ring-fenced situation with quite a few restrictions and limitations that goes with the territory. So if people are talking to you about that now, or your eyes are on early 2026, you may want to be aware of that. Leo. The written and spoken word in publishing or internet terms is strongly influenced by a Chiron cycle this week, and your approach to foreign or global communication, the internet in translation, the international media, different languages, accents, speech, will be more adventurous at this time as you realize that someone or something is showing you what it is possible to get away with. Your aim may well, in fact, be true. It hasn't always been this way, Leo, as this cycle does not always deliver 100%. But there is a part of you that wants to play the maverick and see what is possible, rather than listen to people or organizations which say something is beyond the pale or frankly out of the question. All of this makes life so much more interesting for you online or with legacy publishing. At the moment, you also have your eyes on 2026, and that's correct because very close to the 26th of January, Neptune will change signs, and you will realize that a foreign person or a foreign country will be literally or maybe thematically a holiday from the real world for you. Then from February 14, you get real about it. It's all happening on a different part of the map or with a different language or accent. Virgo. Despite the rather unusual three-way nature of your finances, where you have the escape, the waiting game, and the experiment, if your ideas could help everybody else move forward too, you might just get away with it. There is something audacious here. Chiron in Aries is showing you what others say could not happen, should not happen, or must not happen, and yet there is a part of you that wants to see. This also extends to wills, trust funds, mortgages, leases, valuables, legacies, insurance, pension and superannuation, and the rest. What you prove in family or partnership terms with money or property could become the new rule, or not. I need to remind you about the or not bit because we move in very uncertain times now with the world economy. Chiron's challenge to you is simple this week. Go as far as you can and should, but there are no guarantees. So you have to know the stakes. This is really important because on January 26, you have Neptune moving into your finance sector, and then on February 14, Saturn follows. This almost never happens. So already, even this week, you're seeing that next year is going to be a very different sort of year when you will need to add up the numbers differently too. Libra. Duets and duels in your life, say marriage or a business rival, becomes an experiment when Chiron travels through your seventh house. This half comet, half asteroid, which used to be known as Comet 95P, is all about challenge and convention. So this will be one of the most experimental and daring periods of your life, not just this week, but ongoing. The duet may be personal, like a marriage, professional, like a work partnership, or platonic. The duel, if you have one, may be the same. A divorce, a professional competitor, may be an outright enemy. And this is really important because next year, Neptune goes in there from January 26 and Saturn goes in there from February 14. So everything that you're laying the tracks for now has long-term repercussions all the way through next year and actually 2027 as well. Understanding that you are the sign of the scales and things have to be fair and balanced and symmetrical and harmonious is half the battle. It's who you are, and it's very important to you to maintain or restore equilibrium with him or her this week. There may also be a legal question, Libra, as the scales can sometimes refer to lawyers, barristers, or courts. However this is playing out for you, long term, very long term, this person will be at the heart of a holiday from reality for you, a vacation from the everyday, maybe a bubble to ride around in. And that's a long way into the future, but it's showing small signs this week. Scorpio. You have Saturn back in Pisces and a North Node in Pisces into 2026. So you have to keep a tight focus on the lack of focus with courtship, the bedroom, and the young from babies to Generation Z. The boundaries need watching because they tend to blur on this cycle, as you know very well. In fact, the boundaries may be basically non-existent, Scorpio, going way back in time with partners, children, for example, other people's children, or teenagers. From February 14, Valentine's Day next year, a test of your patience will stop for whatever reason. This waiting game and obstacle course this week concerns your own son or daughter, your stepchildren, godchild, grandchildren, nieces or nephews, and certainly the intimate side of a relationship. All aspects of pregnancy too, if you're affected by that. The world of children may also touch you in less direct ways, through an infant school, for example, or an orphanage. Every personal child is different, but however it's shaping up for you, you're being told that this does not go on forever. In the meantime, you need to reinstate boundaries or even put them in for the first time to sidestep the confusion about who belongs where, because on this cycle, everybody and everything is everywhere all the time. That will really help a lot, but yes, from next year, it's well and truly over. Sagittarius. I've been chatting about Chiron this week, and Chiron is busy in your sector of babies, infants, school children, teenagers, and younger adults. This is also the cycle about the courtship ritual and the bedroom. It is time to challenge the usual state of affairs for you, be this nannies, adoption, single parenthood, maybe something more personal to you, an experimental way through single parenting, or the dating game. Chiron is really about seeing what is possible when other people say it is impossible, out of the question, or unacceptable, beyond the pale, and so on. In fact, Chiron was found in 1977 when they found punk rock. At the moment, you are experimenting as far as you can, but next year may already be in your diary, Sagittarius, because around January 26, 2026, there is a holiday from the real world regarding this, a bubble to ride around in, an escape route, or an alternative universe that bears no resemblance whatsoever to what most people would call real. Then it becomes very quickly real from Valentine's Day, February 14. Perhaps you know exactly what I'm talking about. There may be no shocks at all with this, but it's worth remembering that what you're talking or thinking about this week will have to be answered for in January and February, and in a way will set up next year as well. Capricorn. Jupiter in the 7th house of partners is good news. The 7th house rules partners, potential dates, former partners and rivals, any enemies and opponents. Jupiter's luck works in your love life now, but also against anyone who is also against you. At the same time, you will also be on the receiving end of luck from partners. Sometimes the partners are not personal, they are professional, like a business or work double act, and they can also be platonic, like two people who share a house, but nothing more. Whatever the nature of the pair or the couple, or even the nature of the battle, Jupiter is here to help with rare, big solutions and opportunities not possible in 12 years. Jupiter is expansion, growth, and benefits from the acorns that become oaks. And the 7th house talks about partnership, which I've mentioned, commitment, marriage, weddings, also separation, divorce, any legal issues with him or her, and so on. However you're playing it, Capricorn, this is going to be the arena for the biggest and best by June 2026, and this week is part of it. Of course, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I can't make you, as an astrologer, say yes to a person who is waiting in the wings if you are single. You may not be that interested, but as an astrologer, I can tell you that your horoscope is saying this person would expand your horizons and broaden your possibilities in life more than you have experienced in years. So it is worth taking seriously. Aquarius. The 8th house, where you now find the South Node in Virgo, is about the big stuff with finance and property, big organizations and institutions. So, for example, a bank linked to your wife's legacy or an aspect of Wall Street connected to your father. This goes back 18, 19 years. You owe or you are owed. If there are unspoken karmic rules surrounding a financial, property, or business issue, your decisions now could put those rules on the line. This karma cycle with money stops on July 26 next year. In the meantime, everything is repetitive. You have seen it before, written the script, seen the film, and rewound it. But that's okay because it gives you a chance to alter your state of mind and your point of view on what is going around and around in circles. You also have the node at the other end of your chart, and it's all about finance and property, valuables, and intricate questions, for example, about shares, cryptocurrency, taxation, loans, and so on. There will be a 3-step sign-off for you, Aquarius. The first sign-off is January 26 next year, when the confusion stops. Then, from February 14 next year, the end of heavy restrictions and a test of your patience. And finally, from July 26 next year, the karma stops and with it, the repetition. In fact, it will be a long time before you have to think this much about money or property again. Pisces. Finance or business is an area of your life where you will often get away with it on this cycle, and you've had it for years. Or it may be somebody else who plays that game with you and is the maverick. You could both or all end up in totally new territory as a result, regarding the money, the business, the house, the apartment, or the valuables. Chiron in Aries is an experiment to see if you can succeed. So the question is, can you? You are unlikely to want anything too conservative or conventional while you go through this cycle. And you know that for yourself, given what's been happening over the last year or two. You'll now have very different ideas about what's realistic in terms of your personal economics. But there's more next year, and I've been talking a fair bit about this. From January 26 next year, there will be an outlet, a way through, an alternative for you with your banking, your money, your house or your apartment or your possessions. A classic example is a loan that cushions you and insulates you against what you have to pay. It's real money in the bank, but at the same time, it's not real at all. But Pisces, from February 14 next year, you'll be made aware of a waiting game, a test of your patience, and an obstacle course with the money, house, or the apartment. And therefore, you have to be a realistic person plotting and planning this week, even if you are a Pisces. It's in your nature to want to escape from reality. You're ruled by Neptune. So in a way, you would rather remove yourself from what other people say is normal or realistic. However, there are pitfalls on this cycle just because of the way that the world economy is going, and we're already seeing evidence of that. So this is a really good week to step back from the situation, ask yourself what the limits of the experiment now are, and start thinking about tactics and strategies for early next year. I'll finish by talking a bit more about what's happening with the economy in your country and also globally. So I went into this last week, and as you can see, a couple of things have already come to pass, and they came to pass on the day that astrology said they would. So this is what they call Mercury retrograde. Whenever you have Mercury, which rules information, communication, transportation, and negotiation, going forwards, standing still, going backwards, you are in reversal and rehearsal mode with prices and values. One way to think of it is like a church jumble sale or an op shop in the middle of renovations or a chaotic garage sale. Things are going to change hands between now and December twice, 3 times with wildly varying prices. At the same time, at the moment in astrology, it is well known that there are financial astrologers and also clients using astrology software who know all about this cycle and who are bargaining on a bargain. So there's also going to be market manipulation going on. How does all this affect you? Even if you don't care about money and you don't care about Wall Street, well, it will have a trickle-down effect. The main thing is to remember that everything is fluctuating until Easter 2026. So if your pension or your superannuation also fluctuates, understand that it may well swing around again. The key here is paperwork. If you are asked to agree anything verbally, a handshake agreement, or a mates rates agreement between now and December, ask for it in writing and read the fine print, because things are going to change out there. Mercury retrograde is notorious for people saying one thing and doing another. It's also notorious when people go back on their word. And because it's in Scorpio, which rules your bank account, your joint bank account, a mortgage, your shares, your investments, your will, any legacy which names you, this is time to play ping pong with other people without calling the game final. So bat the ball back and forth, but make sure that when it all stops for you in the second half of December, you've landed somewhere where you can say you still have a handle on the game. And that's quite enough ping pong for 1 week. I'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for listening.